Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the GRCV Hoops Podcast. My name is Gavin Campbell, and alongside me, as always, my good friend
Ricardo Vargas.
And the special guest, Abram Washington.
Yeah, Abram's back from last week, going to be joining us again, talk about some NBA playoff basketball and also the upcoming NBA draft next month. But we're going to go ahead and get to the Eastern Conference Finals that's going on right now. I think when we left off, the Celtics had a 2-0 lead, I believe it was a 2-0 lead on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes,
The Cavs defended home court. The series now tied up at 2 games apiece. Game 5, I believe, is tonight, if I'm not mistaken, right? Game 5 is tonight at Boston. But I mean, the King pretty much just said, you know what, we're not going out like this, and pretty much put the team on his back. Excuse me, J.R. Smith and Kyle Korver really stepped up in Game 4, but Game 3 was really all about LeBron. And I know that in Game 4, because I didn't get to catch Game 3, but I did watch Game 4, and he had that 44 points, double-double, almost a triple-double. Big contributions from J.R. Smith, getting double-digit points. Anytime that J.R. can do that is a good night. Kyle Korver was big defensively. I think he had 3 blocks, and also I think 3 three-pointers. Kevin Love still kind of disappointed. Has been disappointing, waiting for him to show up. But he did have a couple nice outlet passes last night. Boston, on the other hand, Rick, I don't know about you. I know this is your team. Scary Terry showed up. He did his part. Jaylen Brown, he missed a couple dunks. I really don't know how that happens, but nothing's impossible, right? Jason Tatum had an okay game. Big Al showed up. But really, just overall, the Cavs defense seemed to just slow down the offense of the Celtics. What happened?
Game stuff happens, and we're not gonna play amazing every game. And it was in Cleveland. I think tonight, when they come back, home court, undefeated these playoffs, and we're just gonna take care of business like we've been doing at home these past 2 series. Like, just look at the first series. It was the Bucks. We won at home, lost over there, won at home. So I think it's gonna be the same case, and we're going to the NBA Finals. I'm not gonna say nothing else about that.
Abram, can I get your thoughts on that? I know that Rick likes to be a homer when it comes to the Boston Celtics, but can we get I want to say a more realistic approach to the series here?
Well, yeah. Oh, and I'm a basketball fan, basketball junkie, so like you said, Gavin, Rick, the series is 2-2 going back to Boston, and yeah, Ricardo is right. Boston is 9-0, 10-0 at home, 9-0 at home, something like that. And
did they beat Philly in 5, right?
Yeah.
So it's 7, and they're 9-0 at home.
And you're playing against LeBron James, so I mean, LeBron James is hot right now. 2 games at home that he won. I mean, dropped 44. I don't know what he dropped in Game 3 or whatever.
It was 40 or 41.
But he's hot right now. So
he's got over 80 points the last two games.
So I believe I don't know. I mean, it's all going to come down to whoever shows up. What Cavaliers team is going to show up, and what Boston's team is going to show up. What if Boston showed up like they did in Cleveland? They're going to get blown off the court.
Brad Stevens will have something up his sleeve to beat LeBron James, and we're at home. We're gonna win this.
Yeah,
it's gonna go to 7 games.
Home doesn't mean anything. You see LeBron beat Golden State Game 7 in 2016.
It's gonna go to 7 games, but it's Boston coming in on top. And I'm not saying this because I'm a fan. I'm just saying this as a realistic human being.
And I'm gonna agree with you that they do have a better chance at home because they have been undefeated, but just because someone's undefeated doesn't mean it's impossible.
Like last night against Houston and Golden State. Houston beat them at home.
And from last week, we said that wasn't going to happen. I mean, I definitely didn't think that the Rockets were going to be able to get one.
Right.
But it was, the defense really that showed up, and the fact that, Golden State just kept missing 3-pointers, what they've relied so heavily on throughout the past few years and what they've put together there. But getting back to the Cavs, I think it's really going to depend on how well the Cavs can play offensively, because defense, they've held their own, and at least at the games 3 and 4, when they played at home.
Right.
But Boston, in those first 2 games, I mean, they absolutely shut down the Cavs. I mean, 15-plus point victories. I think it might have been 20-plus point victories in both those games. So when they come back, if they can just, I guess flip the switch when they're at home. If Brad Stevens can tell them, be like, hey, we got to get back to what we've been doing all year. They've got, Al Horford, first team all defense, or second team all defense. Congratulations to him.
The playing field is even. I mean, this is like 0-0 now.
Right.
I'm just liking how competitive it is in both series.
Yeah, they've had so many great defensive anchors on that team. I mean, especially with I was disappointed that Jaylen Brown didn't make the all defensive team because DeJounte Murray took that. But I mean, hey, well deserved for him.
Disgusting.
Hey,
good for him. Good for
well
him and
deserved.
his family. But come on,
Well
Jaylen
deserved.
Brown, he's a defensive juggernaut.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a juggernaut, but I would agree that he's a great defensive player.
No, he is a great defensive player, and he can stop the big names.
Yeah.
Who's
on the bright side?
I'm not gonna get into it.
On the bright side, the Cavs might make the NBA Finals.
How was that a bright side? That's the dark.
I mean, that's not a bright side for him.
Well, yeah, for you, the dark side for you.
I mean, for everybody else that wants to see the King in the finals, yeah, I would say that that's a bright side.
Right.
But
we have to dethrone the King.
Y'all just have to play well.
Real quick, I do want to get to just like overall predictions because we have to move on to the NBA draft. So with it being tied up 2-2, we know it's going to be at least 6 games. Who are you taking? Well, I think we know who you're taking, but
right.
What's your give me your prediction anyway?
Oh yeah, Celtics.
In how many games?
7 games.
7 games.
Triple overtime, game 7.
Triple
overtime, game 7.
Game winner by Jason Tatum.
I tell you what, if that comes to fruition, I'll take you to dinner.
Yeah, I'm giving you.
I'm dead serious.
If that happens, I'm quitting U-Haul on the spot. I'm calling my manager. I'm done.
You are hilarious.
Abram, let me go ahead and get your prediction for the Eastern Conference
Really?
Finals.
I see. But the Celtics. Actually, LeBron, the Cavs in 6, but I really want the Celtics to beat LeBron.
So you think the Cavs are going to go and win 4 straight against the best defense in basketball?
LeBron in 7.
So I just persuaded you with one statistic.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
because I forgot Boston was a defensive.
You got to show some respect, you
right?
know?
Their defense.
Well, I mean, all the guys on the team. I mean, not just Al Horford and Jaylen Brown. You got Jason Tatum,
Right.
as a
He can play some defense.
great defender, even as a rookie.
Scary
you
Terry.
got Terry Rozier does a great job. Marcus Morris does a good job. I mean, you just have
Marcus Smart, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know now. I don't know now. I mean, I just don't.
If I'm going to be honest, it is still up for grabs.
Yeah,
but it
it's
will
up-
go to Game 7.
it's
I'm
up
not
for
going to say the
grabs
Celtics going
now.
to win. It is up for grabs.
Yeah.
I think that's where I was alluding to was I think it's going to go to 7 games, and I really couldn't tell you who's going to win it because I expect the Celtics to hold it down tonight, and in Game 6 I expect the Cavs to win. But in Game 7, anything can happen, and we know how LeBron is in Game 7s. Yeah. Anytime there's a closeout game, we know that he shows up, but is the rest of his team going to show up? Is it going to be enough?
That's the thing because the Celtics can just focus on the other Cavs players and then let him get his 50. But if the other Cavs aren't doing anything, they can't win.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, JR has stepped up. Love
everybody.
And even if guys like JR and Tristan Thompson, Kyle Korver, if they can just chip in 9-10 points, I think that's all. That's all it takes.
That's all they need.
right.
So,
that's all they need.
Especially if one of them can just have a good quarter.
Mm-hmm.
If Korver can get 3 triples, if JR can get 11 points, and even just for the whole game.
Tristan Thompson a double-double.
As long as LeBron isn't doing it all by himself. And Tristan Thompson, I want to touch on that real quick, has been, surprised to say the least in the playoffs because I thought that when they inserted him in the lineup that it would have been a mistake because he can't shoot.
Right.
And he had been struggling rebounding all year. But he's done a tremendous job. I don't know if the fact that it's a playoff atmosphere, but something has changed inside him that has made him a better player than what we've seen. So I think that he's definitely one of the biggest X factors when it's going to come to the Cavs beating the Celtics if it does indeed happen.
He really is.
But jumping across to the other side of the country in the West, the Golden State Warriors and Houston Rockets are now tied up at 2 apiece as well. After last night's crazy game, I know you guys caught that, or at least a little bit of it. Houston won 95-92. Really low-scoring games for the 2 best offenses in the league. Either they both had off shooting nights, or the defense was just tremendous. I know that there were a lot of steals in the game, but really it came down to the fourth quarter. The Warriors came out and did what they always did in the third. They had a great third quarter, took the lead by 10 going into the fourth, and then they just kind of choked. So I really don't know how else to say it. I mean, they missed their last 7 3-point attempts in the last 4 minutes. Kevin Durant had 2 air balls in the fourth quarter. The shot, they didn't, utilize the shot clock. It usually came down to the last 3 or 4 seconds before they got a shot up. And Houston's defense really stepped up. I think Chris Paul, although he wasn't the playmaker that we know him to be last night, he was the scorer that they needed him to be last night, as well as James Harden. I think they both combined for over 55 points. So, and that was enough to get them the win.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know from you guys, now that it's tied up 2-2 and both teams have won on each other's home floor, like, what does this mean for games 5 and 6?
Okay, I want the Rockets to win because I'm tired of seeing the Warriors in the NBA Finals. And,
Fair to say.
I like James Harden. I like his game. But if I'm going to be honest with you, I do think the Warriors are still going to come out on top just because we all know they have way too much firepower. This was just one game. And I also do think this game will go to 7 games, just like the Eastern Conference Finals. It's been entertaining, and I think it's just going to be whoever can outscore the other opponent. I'm not saying, the Rockets still have a chance, but I see the Warriors coming out, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm with Ricardo. I believe just trying to gather my thoughts. I believe that the Warriors will prevail in 7 games. 7 games?
So even though Houston has home court advantage, and it's essentially a new series is what we have here. We're starting off at 0. It's 2-2, so it's pretty much the best 2 out of 3 now. And if Houston has 2 of those 3 games at home, you think Golden State can win 2 of those 3 games?
Yeah, they're the defending NBA champions. They can win. They know what it takes to win on somebody's home court.
If Curry can just turn it on, which he can.
We saw it in the third quarter last night.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
it sucks to say it, but I think they could win in Houston.
They did game 1.
Yeah,
won by 20.
Well, I guess another question that I want to get at is if both teams, the way they struggled last night, neither cracked 100 points.
Oh, they won't struggle like that.
They both average over 110 points easily throughout the regular season and even the playoffs. So with that said, who's going to step up? Whose offense is going to catch fire in Game 5 for tomorrow night?
And then if Andre Iguodala is just guarding Harden or Chris Paul, that can.
Do you think that he's had a significant impact on him missing the past couple games?
Yes.
Yeah, because he's averaged 12 points a game, good defense on Harden and them. He really helps. He's a key player.
If James Harden and Chris Paul get shut down, I think there's no way for them to win.
Right, they don't stand a chance against Golden State.
Even though they've proven it, sometimes Harden and Paul don't play well. And the other guys step up, but I just think in this situation against the Warriors, they just can't win.
Especially against a team like them, you don't think that if you have to go to your third option in Capella, that's not going to be enough to be
Curry,
the third guy, Klay Thompson or Draymond Green or a guy like that. That's fair. I think that I do think Golden State will come out on top, and I do think it's going to be in 7 games, despite the home court advantage Houston has. If Houston wins in 7 games, I would not be surprised. I would prefer them to come out of the West. I would just like a change of scenery for once. I think 4 years in a row of pretty much the same team, pretty much getting better and then swapping role players. I don't see.
It might not be the same teams on the Eastern side.
Right. This could be the first time that either in the past 3 years that we've seen either side have a different representative for the conference.
That'll be pretty crazy.
I think that would be nice to see. I know that at least me and Rick here. I'm not sure your thoughts, Abram, but I know that we're pulling for a Boston Celtics, Houston Rockets matchup.
It'll be refreshing.
I'm pulling for the Celtics and Golden State.
And
young talent going head to head.
The Warriors and the Celtics do match up well together.
They do.
Even though
I think all 3 of their matchups they had were very. Both 2 of their matchups were very good.
It would be fun to see that.
Golden State's still young. Andre is 30 something. That's the only.
Well, you have your
middle age.
Your big 4 in their primes. Kevin Durant,
29.
I think he's 29, going on 30, and Steph Curry, I think he's 28, 29.
Curry's 30.
He's 30 years old now.
But he's still playing like he's young.
You still have Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, who are in their late 20s. This is a team that's going to be together for the next few years.
Right. Yeah. Unless another team gets them or whatnot.
Right, and we'll have to see, what they're able to build up to. But ultimately, we have your predictions for the Western Conference as
Warriors in the West, Celtics in the East.
Abram?
Warriors in the West, and Boston in the East. Warriors in 6 against them.
But I do want to see Rockets and Celtics. That's what I want to see. But I
Right,
think
but
it's
ultimately
gonna be,
you believe it'll be the
Warriors.
Celtics and the Warriors in the finals. Okay, that's fair enough. I still think we're going to get Cavs Warriors just because I think somehow, that's what the NBA wants because that's what's going to bring in the revenue.
And it's understandable.
That's understandable.
And it's still, at the same time, it'll still be fun.
And if it does, then it happens. I guess we'll
Warriors will sweep them.
I mean, I'm not going to not watch the finals. Right. I don't think anyone that's a true basketball fan isn't going to not watch the finals. At least a few games.
But next year it's going to be different. That's what I'm saying.
If it's the Cavs and Warriors, how many games?
I'm not watching that. No, I'm joking. I'll watch a few games, but
how many games? Who will win? How many games?
I think the Warriors win. I don't know how many.
I'll take the Warriors in 5.
It all depends on how they play the first game. I think I'm seeing they just get dominated.
Warriors always dominate the first game. It seems like
they seem like to dominate every game.
Right.
Every game, no matter how it ends
Except
up. Right?
last
no matter
night.
who ends up on top. But no, with that said, I think my final prediction is going to be I'm going to say Cavs and Warriors. I'm going to say the Warriors in 5.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to happen.
That might be the most realistic prediction.
That's realistic.
But
I said they were going to sweep them, but LeBron's going to get one. At least.
Right, at least one. We know that, especially last year, him and Kyrie Irving, they weren't going to get swept. But now that it's just LeBron, I mean, unless Kevin Love shows up or some other role player wants to show up.
JR dropped 30 every game.
Right.
If JR could have himself a 20-point game, I could definitely see the Cavs taking at least one.
Right.
But they have to get there first, and that game 5 is tonight, which is going to be awesome. So
imagine like the pressure these guys are under. Like,
right. Man. And actually, I think that's a good question. Who's under more pressure to make the finals?
Who is?
A good one.
I mean, if LeBron doesn't make it, I mean, can you criticize him for that?
That's the debate, and it's tough because like. If I were LeBron, I'd rather lose right now than lose in the finals.
If the Warriors don't make it, is there pressure on them?
There's more pressure on Houston. No, there's more pressure on Houston because they haven't been to the finals.
There's just pressure on Chris.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't done nothing.
Chris Paul hasn't made the conference finals. He's done that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, he could add to that resume and say that he has been to the finals. He could even win the finals.
Like last night's game, it was more pressure on Houston to win. Because if they would have went down 3-1, because they would have beat them in 5,
would have pretty much been over.
Yeah,
right.
There was more pressure on Houston.
I'll narrow it down to this: the people with the most pressure is Chris Paul and then LeBron James.
I would agree with that, but I would have to add Kevin Durant to that list because if you're a championship, if you're a defending championship team and arguably one of the greatest teams ever assembled. I mean, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And you don't even make it to the finals and your roster is completely healthy, you have no excuse.
That is true.
I'll say that much.
Because
I'm talking about this season because Curry was out like 30 games.
I meant this playoffs.
But still,
I mean,
even
Curry was out.
Right, he missed one game. He missed one game.
I thought he missed 2. Because he didn't play. Did he miss 1? I thought he missed 2 or 3.
Or one game of the second round. I apologize. I forget the first round because they dismantled the Spurs. So
right, dismantled.
So
Rudy Gay.
So, but no. With that said, I think it's time to talk about the fun stuff. We want to get into the NBA draft.
I like this.
Everyone's excited about.
This is the good of the NBA right here coming up next month, and.
New crop.
Just in case, the new crop of players coming in. In the order, I know we said it last week. We'll go over it one more time before we get into the top prospects of the 2018 draft. And order is as follows, for the lottery at least. We have the Phoenix Suns, Sacramento Kings, Atlanta Hawks, Memphis Grizzlies, Dallas Mavericks, Orlando Magic, Chicago Bulls, Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's the Brooklyn pick. Where the Nets finished, and they're finally going to have their pick next year. How about that? The Cavs have number 8, followed by the Knicks at 9. Then the 76ers, Charlotte Hornets, and the LA Clippers have back-to-back picks at 12 and 13, and we rounded off with the Denver Nuggets at 14. So now that we have the order set with the first pick, I mean, I know we talked about it a little bit last week. The Phoenix Suns, I believe originally said DeAndre Ayton they should take. But with news of Luka Doncic saying that he may or may not play in the NBA, he might stay in Europe after winning the EuroLeague with Real Madrid. What do you think the Suns do in this situation?
They're in a really tough spot. I was watching the video of, like, the GM was talking, like they would even consider trading the pick.
Really?
Yeah, like there's like the possibilities are endless. I really like Luka Doncic. I think he's a one in a generation talent. But then again, DeAndre Ayton, he's another. He could be a superstar.
He seems like the second coming of Shaq, who can actually shoot like a 14-footer.
Exactly, you know? And usually they with big men, like they're pretty good at defense, but they need some their offense a little polished. But this doesn't seem to be the case with DeAndre Ayton. He seems to be really good at offense, but he needs a little bit of help with defense.
Right.
And that's something like, well, it's tough to teach defense, but I think that could change in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like he has the body for it.
It could have been an effort thing.
Yeah.
Knowing that I'm this good, I'm going to make the NBA, but you hate to see a player with his kind of talent, reach a level to where he's satisfied.
Yeah. And I think he has like a demeanor, personality that he's willing to change. He doesn't seem like he's hard-headed. And once you get to the league, you'll have all the resources, the people needed, and then his game will just improve. I think the Suns, they just gotta.
That'd be a good pick for the Suns because DeAndre is from Arizona.
Yeah. Arizona.
It's a good feel-good story, but I feel like that could go either way.
Right.
Because we know that Doncic is one of his coaches.
Right.
That was an assistant coach for the Utah Jazz under Quinn Snyder.
Right.
Is now the head coach of Phoenix. I believe his name is Igor Kokorov or something like that. I can't remember his name, but he was Doncic's coach. So maybe if he has that feeling of comfortability, if he wants to come over to the NBA, he has a familiar face.
Yeah.
So, I think if you're Phoenix, you can't go wrong in this situation. And like you said, if you want to trade off the pick, there's nothing wrong with acquiring more assets, but you have to wonder how long is Devin Booker going to stay satisfied with, a losing franchise, especially in the Western Conference.
Yeah, and Booker's still up and coming. Like, he's so young. And it's really tough because, Luka, MVP of the EuroLeague, like, at 19.
At 19 years old, yeah.
19 years old.
The youngest MVP ever in the history of the EuroLeague.
I don't think this guy's going to be a buzz. Like, the stigma with the European players.
Yeah, no, I think that we're starting to move past that because these new prospects, I think they understand, and that not just the NBA is evolving, but the basketball in Europe is evolving as well, and I think that the talent level is starting to even off.
Yeah, no, and they are pretty skilled. Like you got Lauri Markkanen, Porzingis, and I think this guy Luka, he might be one of the best ever to come out of Europe. That's what people are saying.
Right. That's what they're saying right now because if we're talking strictly EuroLeague basketball, I think he's up there right now with one of the greatest things ever. He's pretty much their LeBron James of the EuroLeague.
Yeah, and so young, 19.
It's absolutely insane. And if he was to translate any, if he just averaged his own stats that he did from his MVP season of 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, I mean, if he could do that as a rookie for a lottery team, that might be able to propel them along with another piece into the playoffs, depending whether you're in the Eastern Conference or not.
Right.
But
no, exactly.
Anyway, with Phoenix getting the number 1 pick, we got Sacramento at number 2. If Phoenix does go the route of DeAndre Ayton, or they trade it off to someone who does acquire DeAndre Ayton, if Sacramento drafts Luka Doncic at number 2, which they very well might, pair alongside De'Aaron Fox, does Luka Doncic stay in Europe? That's the big question going around right now.
Well, possibly.
I'm staying in Europe.
Yeah, I'm staying in Europe.
Right.
So, I mean, if I was Luka, does he really want to play for Sacramento?
Right, a franchise that's been plagued by bad decisions year in and year out.
Yeah,
which is,
I mean that's like a turnoff for me if I was a basketball player,
right?
Or a coach or whatnot. Like I do not want to be in an organization where it's still going downhill and a lot of people have made bad decisions.
I think they had some upside this past year. De'Aaron Fox and Willie Cauley-Stein, and Bogdan Bogdanovich or Bojan Bogdanovich. There's 2 of them, and I know they're related. I can't remember their first names, but yeah, the one for Sacramento, the younger one, he is actually I believe he's the cousin of the one that plays for Indiana, but he had a really good season. He showed out, and I think that he'll be getting paid once his contract is up. But just those 3 guys.
He made an all-rookie team.
Yeah, those 3 guys in itself. I think Sacramento finally has a good core. I think they're finally starting to move past all of the idiotic decisions that they've made in the past, like keeping DeMarcus Cousins for 6 years, 7 years. It seems like anything. Forever, and not doing anything with him.
You had Rondo, you had Isaiah Thomas.
I mean, and
you had Hassan
Whiteside as well. Yeah, which Hassan Whiteside right now is a story for a different day.
Yeah,
I think he has some effort issues that he needs to fix, or at least address.
He was sorry in the playoffs, but anyway.
I think Doncic, if he gets drafted by Sacramento, which I don't think Sacramento would waste the pick on him, because then
he's just way too
if you have the number 2 pick in the draft and your draft pick says I don't play for you,
right.
I mean, you have a problem.
Yep.
So. I think that they could probably go for maybe Marvin Bagley at 2, if Aiden is gone, because I feel like Bagley's more of like a stretch big than Aiden is.
I like Bagley a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like he would fit in with them. I mean, I know they have Skal Labissiere, but I mean Bagley can shoot better than Labissiere can right now, and I think if you pair him and Cauley Stein up, you'd be able to stretch the floor more with Fox, because we know that he's a streaky 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
So,
I think if Ayton goes number 1, I think the Sacramento Kings should trade the pick, because I don't want to slow down the development of De'Aaron Fox.
Right, but what are you looking for in return?
That's a tough one. Like I'll have to talk with the other team to see what they can offer me, but I'm not gonna draft Luka, because it doesn't seem like he wants to play there, and then I'm not gonna slow down Fox, which he can be a pretty good player in this league, an all-star.
So you don't think that there's anyone else that like you could get at number 2 that you'd be comfortable with, like maybe taking a risk on Michael Porter Jr. or perhaps like a Jackson Jr. from Michigan State, perhaps?
No.
I mean, I know he's a center. I mean, are the Kings afraid of? And I'm not going to put this past Sacramento because we've seen them make idiotic decisions in the past, but of them having 2 centers at once, especially ones that can't shoot threes.
I just don't see him doing that. Like I could see them trading that number 2 pick to someone who does want it, and then they can get in return, a proven star in this league, and that other team could get, Luka Doncic, the best available player, if he doesn't go number 1.
Now, would you think that team that trades with Sacramento would have to have confirmation from Doncic and his agent that he would commit to the team?
Of course, yes. I think that would be the best option, because Sacramento will get a star player, and then the other team would get, I think, the best player in the draft.
So if that's the case, so if we have a team trade up, assuming they're a non-lottery team, if they trade up for Doncic, I mean they're obviously in business. They've probably traded their couple picks and a pick next year, maybe a player or 2, because the second pick isn't cheap. No. We know that you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay a price for it.
Yeah.
So then that brings us to number 3 in Atlanta. And if that's the case, then Marvin Bagley's still on the board.
Oh, and you got to love that.
I was talking about this last week. I cannot get over the idea of Marvin Bagley playing alongside John Collins if Dennis Schroeder stays in Atlanta.
Bagley at 3, that would just be amazing, because he's a first pick type of player.
He really very well could be first overall, but I think that a lot of teams are stuck on DeAndre Ayton and just the sheer size and talent of this guy. But let's not forget that Marvin Bagley total field goal percentage at Duke was over 61%.
And he had monster games.
Yeah, exactly.
Monster games.
I mean, he averaged over 21 points a game, and I think maybe 11 or 12 rebounds.
And the thing is, the guy should have been in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, should have been.
Should have been in high school. And he was doing that in college.
Which is, it's absolutely nuts. And I know that they have him, I believe, at the 3rd overall prospect. If it was me, I think that you could juggle Aiden and Bagley at 2 and 3. I still would have Doncic number 1, just because, like you said, I think that a generational guard in today's NBA is more valuable than a big man that can't shoot 3-pointers.
Right. Yeah.
I think that,
and he doesn't play defense.
Right, and there's no disrespect to guys like Shaq or David Robinson or Hakeem. Right. Nothing like that. And actually, Hakeem, I think he did shoot the occasional 3-pointer, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
Right.
Guys like Dikembe Mutombo. I think that those defensive-minded centers with limited offensive abilities, I think are pretty much set by the wayside at this point. We're looking for guys like Dirk Nowitzki and stretch bigs like Porzingis. There's a lot of comparisons being drawn there. Joel Embiid, like today, I don't think there's a center in this draft that you can really compare to those 2 guys. Even Karl Anthony Towns.
All right.
But if you were going to, man, I just don't know. I just don't know. I think that you can go either way.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with either one. I personally like Marvin Bagley over Ayton, but I could see why teams love Ayton. Like that with that body and that
Right.
that talent, that footwork. That's another thing. His footwork is incredible. You know.
Well, and that not only that, I mean, he's an inch taller than Bagley is, and he's got 30 pounds on him. I mean, we know that Bagley is. I don't want to compare him to Brandon Ingram because Brandon Ingram is very, very lean, very skinny.
He's like 190.
Yeah, but I think he bulked up a little bit, but that's because he was like 180. You know, he was like almost 7 feet tall at 180. That's
crazy.
That's ridiculous.
That's unhealthy.
Yeah, really.
I'm not even joking.
No, yeah, it was a little scary actually because we didn't know if he was going to be able to put on weight at all. And I'm glad that he actually had a really good year this year. I'm impressed that he finally we're seeing improvement. That step that we thought he would take the year before.
Yeah.
But one guy I want to talk about is Mohamed Bamba because I think this is a guy
people forget about him.
They do and I think it's mostly because of how loaded the center position is in this draft. Because we still have guys like Wendell Carter Jr. That we haven't even touched on yet, and Jackson Jr. from Michigan State, who's not an undersized center, but on the shorter side of centers, but that doesn't stop him from being a defensive animal, which I think that we were talking about before the show.
Yeah.
Jackson Jr., wherever he goes, he's going to be there for the defense. But I don't know if I'm a team, and I know that size isn't everything, but if I have an undersized center that is limited on offense, I don't know if I would want to take that, let's say within a top 5 pick.
Right.
Especially if I'm a lottery team.
Yeah, top 5 pick. That's a lot of risk, The Warriors, they got lucky with Draymond Green.
Green, and I believe Jordan Bell as well.
Yeah.
Jordan Bell, I think, has a lot of those, and I think he's more talented offensively than Draymond, I think.
Yeah.
At least his potential-wise. Because he's an athletic freak. I mean, when I watched him in Oregon, and even a couple dunks this year, I mean, honestly, I'm disappointed he plays for the Warriors because I feel like someone else could use him, sitting behind guys like that.
He could be on an all-rookie team. If we're being honest.
I definitely agree with that.
The Warriors just know how to draft.
But they really do. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, they're in-house players. I mean, the way that they do it, I mean, hats off to them.
Yeah.
Hats off to them.
You got to respect it.
But getting back to Mohamed Bamba, the reason I'm talking about this, Abram, I want to ask you, a guy like him, 7 feet tall, about 230, this guy averages almost 4 blocks a game. Would this be a good guy to bring in, assuming that you guys let Noel leave and walk in free agency? If Dirk comes back for one more year, would this be a guy that he could, keep under his wing and then next year take his place?
Oh yeah, hands down. I believe that Mohamed Bamba would be a good fit with Dallas Mavericks, with the guys that he has around him. If we drafted the guy from Mohamed Bamba,
I think that I look at it and it just like in my head, the backcourt of Yogi Ferrell and Dennis Smith Jr. If you have a guy like Harrison Barnes, who's still a solid player, I don't think he's a number 1, but I think he's a solid player. And then Dirk sticks around for one more year, and then you insert Mohamed Bamba for maybe like 28, 30 minutes a game in the starting lineup,
right?
And allow him to grow with those players and learn under Dirk's tutorage.
It'll be a force to be reckoned with in the Western Conference if he comes.
Absolutely,
it'd be nice to keep that big boy in Texas, but
yeah, I know.
7'9" wingspan.
That's crazy.
7'9" wingspan. That's insane.
But give me Michael Porter Jr.
225.
I think Michael Porter Jr. is the 4th best player in this draft.
Gotta go with
4th
Dallas.
best player. So you think that he could go to Memphis? Yeah. Would Memphis take a shot on him with the roster they have right now?
That's a tough one. Which I hope they don't, because I'd rather see him with the Mavericks. But
where would he fit?
Matter of fact, Michael Porter Jr. might have the 2nd best potential in this draft.
I mean, potential-wise, perhaps.
He played one game in college, didn't he?
No, he played more.
No, he played a handful of games.
It seemed like he just played one game.
Yeah, he played a handful of games. This is like a Kyrie Irving situation.
But he was dominant in high school. And I know that's high school and all that, but like his size, I think he could be better than Brandon Ingram.
And look, and I don't know if I can agree with that because I haven't seen enough of him.
Right.
But I'm not going to argue with that statement. But what I will say is that it's similar to the Kyrie Irving situation. He's not Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, of course.
Granted, 2 different positions, but he's not Kyrie Irving, and that's why he was taken number 1 overall despite the injury. Now, even though he has this kind of potential, if you're going to take him that high, you want some kind of guarantee if you're not getting an Irving-type player.
I'm taking that risk with him because what I saw when he was in high, they went undefeated in his senior year.
He would be
Right,
good with Dallas.
which is incredible. But I mean, when we're talking high school to college and college to the NBA,
No, and I understand, but just his height.
Lance Stevenson and Tyreek Evans were all American players in high school, and I mean, look at them now. And no disrespect to Tyreek because he's resurrected his career, but Lance Stevenson is a role player on a mid-tier Eastern Conference playoff team.
But this guy
should have beat LeBron, but anyways.
Should have beat LeBron. I still believe that. Yeah.
Anyways,
Porter, like he's a top talent. I think if you pass him up, that's a mistake.
Wait, he might get passed up in the top 5. I mean,
he says he's the best player in the draft.
Stop it.
Which you have to have that kind of
mindset.
Confidence going in. You know,
he dropped like 30 points and 20 rebounds in like a pro-am game.
What team would he?
He's a grown man.
Look good.
Mavericks, to be honest.
So the Mavericks, even though you already have Harrison Barnes, would you?
Oh yeah.
Insert him immediately.
Would you
play him at the 4?
Give me Porter over Barnes right now.
Well, he's not playing over Dirk. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, he very well could. I mean, if Dirk wants to come off the bench for 15 minutes a game, I mean, he's going to be 39 years old.
Those old days, they're not giving him that much.
So,
right.
I mean, I just don't know. I feel like there's too many question marks for me to risk that kind of pick on it. Now, if I'm later in the lottery, like say I'm, the Los Angeles Clippers, if I'm sitting at 12 and Michael Porter Jr. is still there, they've been in need of a small forward ever since like Dominique Wilkins left.
Forever.
In his, when he was out of his prime when he played for LA.
That would be.
I mean, didn't they have Danny Granger for like a couple years or something like that?
Porter would be the steal of the draft. That's all I'm saying. Like a Devin Booker type of steal.
I mean, it'd be
or
nice.
Even Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell,
the 13, and they have the 12th and 13th pick.
Yeah,
it'd be nice if Muhammad Bamba comes or Michael Porter comes, but we really need a center because Nerlens Noel needs to go somewhere else.
Bamba, I like Bamba, but I'm not taking him that high. Even with that,
we need someone in Dallas.
I mean, 3 of the top 5 picks are probably going to be centers, and I think Dallas would be fine with any of them. I mean, if they wanted to look on the defensive side of things, which we know that Dennis Smith Jr. is a great defender.
What if we get Luka?
See, that's the thing. I don't think he'll fall out of the top 3. Someone's going to trade for him.
Oh no!
Either that or and he'll end up in Atlanta. Because if Schroeder leaves, they're going to need a ball handler, and they'll draft Doncic. But I don't even think he'll drop to number 3. He'll go in a top. He'll be 1 or 2.
And I think he's going number 1.
He should go number 1. If Phoenix doesn't take him, there's something up.
That'd be one of the biggest mistakes they've ever done.
You got to think of. But you got to think of DeAndre Ayton. He's from Phoenix.
He's from Phoenix and all that.
Arizona.
Doncic just says you're not going to get another chance at
in today's NBA. I feel like you need a star guard player.
Because
I mean, it's
especially in the West.
Especially.
And then you can pair him perfectly with Booker. That'd be one of the best.
And Phoenix does have young assets. Who's to say that they don't trade down to like the 15th pick and pick up one of these other centers that are in the draft that might not be as good as a Muhammad Bamba or a Jackson Jr.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they have like the 16th or 17th pick in the draft.
They very well could. I'm not sure what the picks are outside the lottery, just because I haven't looked yet. But they very well could have one. I'm not sure how it's stacked up or what stipulations fall under what, but I just don't know. I think a sleeper pick for maybe Dallas could be Mikal Bridges from Villanova. I mean, I know that he's like a true small forward and that they do have Harrison Barnes, and I said something about that earlier, but he seems more of a 3-point specialist, Yeah. Because we know that Harrison Barnes he can shoot the 3. And I guess he does shoot it better than a lot of guys, but he's been disappointing to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. After him being with
Warriors, the last year he was with the Warriors, he's disappointing.
Especially when he was performing really poorly in the NBA Finals.
Yeah,
that was like kind of why they let him go. Which I wouldn't have re-signed him if I was the Warriors either for $20-something million. But we knew someone was going to give him the max.
Right.
I think a really under the radar one. Is the undersized center from Texas A&M, what's his name, Robert Williams? Robert Williams III. That is a big man. It says here that he's only 240 pounds, but that is a beast of a human being. Because I watched him for 2 games in the tournament, and I mean he looked like a parent playing with little kids. That's what it looked like. So especially a team that struggles with rebounding. I know that he's undersized, but he kind of reminds me of a Ben Wallace type of player. Not to the level that Ben was, because he was 6'8", playing center.
Great, yeah,
And
that's crazy.
One of the greatest defenders ever. But I think if you want a guy that can get you offensive rebounds, I think this is your man.
Robert Williams. Yeah, CBS, they have him at 17. And the Suns do have the 16th pick.
So, exactly. So, I mean, if they were to draft Doncic at 16, you could get a guy like Robert Williams and bring him in. Right. I think this is a year that Phoenix, if they don't screw this up, I mean, they could be looking, especially in the West, they could be looking at the playoffs. If not next year, the year after.
Looking at the 8th seed in the playoffs. 8th, 7th. Depending
on how good whoever they draft, if they do draft someone this draft, I think they can make the playoffs
And let's not forget that they do have some cap space if they're able to sign someone in free agency to put alongside Devin Booker.
And I wouldn't mind playing in Phoenix.
No, I wouldn't either.
So, no, I just think that, if I'm a player, I need to look at the situation.
Yeah.
And that's probably what has steered them away from Phoenix the past couple of years is because, let's be honest, they sucked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, their point guard situation I think they have figured out now with Elfrid Payton or Tyler Ulis. If Elfrid Payton can just develop some sort of jump shot and please,
he cut his hair.
Yes, that's what I've been waiting for. Really doesn't look like the same guy.
He doesn't.
Doesn't look like the same guy, but I'm glad he did.
Maybe he can improve now. He can see.
Exactly.
They should be all right the next 2 or 3 years.
I mean, with him running point, if he can learn how to shoot, he's a great facilitator.
He really is.
So
underrated.
All you need to do is learn how to shoot in the NBA.
I think him and Devin Booker are good, not great backcourt.
Booker's great, but not
right. I think that's what averages it out because I think Booker is. If he wasn't in the West, I think he has a chance to be an All-Star. I really do.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, he put up All-Star numbers.
I think with that said, Phoenix is going to be in good shape if they get Doncic.
If they don't make the playoffs this year, this upcoming year, they should make it next year. If
they should make it in 2 years.
If they have the mindset of drafting Luka or
if they weren't in the West, I would guarantee they make the playoffs next year.
Oh, in the East, yeah.
Because if you get 40 wins, you're in the East.
Yeah.
So
if Luka lives up to the hype, this is going to be a very scary team.
Oh yeah, if he gets drafted.
Booker and Luke.
See, this is where it gets tricky though. When we come down to the 6th pick, the Orlando Magic, because they have
very tricky.
They have a mess of a franchise right now because they have so many bad contracts. I think the only one that I actually like is the Jonathan Simmons one because he's making like $14 million and he's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
he's been waiting to get paid because he was the Spurs role player for a long time.
I'm thinking Wendell
but
Carter.
I'm thinking. Well, that's the thing is they have Bismack Biyombo under contract. They have Vucevic under contract. They have Aaron Gordon under contract.
What a mess of it.
So they have Terrence Ross is under contract. So they fired Frank Vogel. I have no idea who their coach is right now.
They let Oladipo go.
That's how messy they are. That's how messy they are right now. I don't even know who their starting point guard is.
The coach. They don't even have a coach.
I have no idea.
Because it was Peyton.
Yeah, that's how bad it is. I have absolutely no idea.
What do they really need?
I know they still have Evan Fournier, who is on a decent contract. I like him as a player.
In times like these for the Magic, what do they even need?
I mean, they have, Jonathan Isaac that they drafted last year, but now you have a rotation of 4 big men.
Give me Colin Sexton.
That's what I was thinking. If they need a point guard to pair up with Jonathan Simmons and maybe, hopefully, trade away at least one of those bad contracts. I think that as much as I don't want him to go there because I think the Magic have been a mess of a franchise since they got rid of Dwight Howard. I think that's their best call is to draft Sexton. Mm-hmm. Mostly because he's explosive. Jonathan Simmons is explosive. He's a okay 3-point shooter. Pretty much league average, 34%.
Sexton can be good. I like him over Trae Young.
It's the slasher mentality. I mean, he plays with everything he's got, which you can't teach that. No, you can't teach heart. That's going to be crazy. I think that's the best pick. I think we can unanimously agree that that'd be the best pick here.
And I think Sexton could end up being one of the steals of the draft.
Absolutely, and
or Aaron Holiday.
Even you hate to say a steal at number 6, but I mean that's the kind of player we're talking about.
Yeah, he could develop into like a Lillard type of guy, John Wall.
But number 7, I believe, is the Chicago Bulls. Yes, it's the Chicago Bulls. And they, man, what do they do in their situation? I mean, they've got Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn. They've got Lauri Markkanen. I mean, they've got a really good trade the pick.
Yeah, I trade the pick.
What do you trade the pick for?
Yeah,
whatever I can get.
Whatever you can get.
Juicy.
I mean, I think in this situation, because they need a center. I mean, I'm probably going Wendell Carter Jr.
He would be nice in Chicago
because I think you have a stretch big in Lauri Markkanen. I think you need a solid anchor on the defensive end
yeah.
and a guy that can rebound.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that Laurie doesn't get rebounds, but I mean, stretching the floor, you know, you're going to be shooting the ball. Zach LaVine, he's a driver. He can also shoot. Chris Dunn, really good on the defensive end. I think you solidify the defense and make yourself a competitive team by drafting Wendell Carter.
Yeah, they'd be all right next season.
Because the only reason I say that is because I don't think Jackson Jr. is going to be there. If you're going to go for defense, you obviously want to draft him. But I just don't think that Jackson Jr. will be available at number 7. But
you never know.
It's really hard to say.
Yeah.
If you can get either or, I think that's what you need to go with. If you're not going to do that, I think they need a small forward. I think Miles Bridges would be a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
I forget about him.
Yeah, either that or Mikel Bridges should be. You should take him. But I mean, this is a guy 2 blocks a game, 9 rebounds, 14 points.
Solid
I mean, he's an effort guy. He's an effort guy,
and you gotta love it.
And I've seen him in interviews. He's a confident individual, you know, and he's young as well. He's not even 20 years old yet. So I think taking him. I think Bagley took a lot of the spotlight when they were at Duke, but he definitely no slouch. Don't sleep on him. And then this is probably the most tricky pick is at number 8. What do you do if you're Cleveland? If you really, don't know tricky. If LeBron is coming back, what do you do?
Because you
wait it out. I would wait it out to see if LeBron is.
I mean, do you try to trade this pick, or do you get a young star knowing you might not get LeBron back?
Not Trae Young.
I honestly don't know what you could get with the 8th pick.
Because it's not like it's a top 5 asset.
No.
So.
But then, like, if you draft someone at 8th, there is a chance you could get a star type of guy. Because, you know, people have fallen to the 8th pick, and they become great.
See, this is where I like Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
I like him going to Cleveland because you have the potential. You're already going to get screwed because LeBron's going to leave. I'm like 90% sure LeBron's gone. Yeah. If they lose to Boston, he's 100% gone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in this situation, if you get him, you have a guy that could be great. I mean, like all-star level talent. But he could be a bust because we don't know how the injuries are going to affect him.
I would take the risk. If he falls to 8th, I would take the risk.
Well, see, that's the thing is you go back to being a mediocre franchise. You take the risk, high reward. I mean, this seems like
rebuild. You can rebuild
this seems like a move that Dan Gilbert would be willing to make.
Yeah.
Because he seems like a risk taker to me. I mean, he pretty much traded half the team for 4 role players at the deadline just for LeBron. So if he's going to walk and you went out in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that's a way to go with it.
Yeah.
But if Porter Jr. isn't there, that makes me scratch my head. Like, what do you use the pick on?
It'd be really rough.
I mean, at that point, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Dan Gilbert's the kind of guy that would draft Trae Young at 8.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't either. I think he's too much of a risk because if you're a volume shooter and you shoot 36%, I don't like those numbers. I don't like those numbers.
You're not helping the team.
No, and the 3-point line's only going to move back in the NBA. Yeah. So I just don't know. That and he played for Oklahoma, and in that conference, it's just the level of competition really isn't there compared to other conferences like the Big Ten or anything like that.
ACC.
So yeah, the ACC. That's where it's at. But I just don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting. At number 9, the Knicks. I really hope Colin Sexton can go to New York. That's where I want him. I see him in a Knicks uniform. I think he looks good. I can see him. I really don't know who else they would take there. I mean, they could take a center, but they have Porzingis, they have Cantor, they have O'Quinn. Unless they were going to keep him on the reserve. I think Kyle O'Quinn's a decent backup center. I really do.
He is
I don't think he's that bad.
But I think everything will be more clear once we get closer to the draft. Once the finals are over with, of course, a lot of things will become more clear. After Doncic, get a feeling for what he wants to do.
One more thing I want to ask. At number 10, if you're the Philadelphia 76ers and you have that young core, what do you try to add? Especially if you're going after a guy like LeBron James. Who are you trying to add into that group, into that mix? Knowing you might lose like J.J. Redick, Marco Bellinelli, and guys
Nobody.
like that.
The Sixers are stacked. I mean, they're set.
Right, but I mean, you have the draft pick. You're not going to trade the 10th pick for much. No. So, if you are going to draft a decent player, who do you go after? Like, what position do you try to fill in the situation?
Maybe another shooting guard.
Yeah, another shooting guard. Somebody could shoot. Spread the floor.
Who's the starting 2? JJ.
So, do you think if Michael Bridges is there, even though he's a 3, would you bring him in?
I'll bring him in.
Because, I mean, the guy shot almost 44% from three.
Or the guy from Villanova, Dante.
There's the guy from Kansas that I really like.
Malik Newman.
Malik Newman, man.
Yeah.
I tell you what, that guy, they have him down on this board. I have to find him here. He's actually pretty far down. I think he's in the 20s.
Give me good old Malik.
But he is, I tell you what, I watched him against, what was it, Gonzaga?
Yeah.
Just that game alone, I understand that guys get hot, but wow. Give me that guy. Give me Newman. He can. And even just a sleeper pick that I think could go in the lottery. They have him ranked at 21, but Drew Holiday's brother, Aaron Holiday, this guy averaged over 20 points a game, 6 assists, 43% from three. I mean, that spells combo guard all over it. I mean, if you can average 6 assists a game, you're shooting over 40% from three, 20 points a game.
You think
that's solid?
Grayson might go to Philadelphia?
I think Grayson Allen's going to slip, and when he does, I think that he'll be picked up by Minnesota. I think that Minnesota needs shooting.
That'd be nice.
Especially if you have that, obviously the issues that Karl Towns is having with the franchise. If Andrew Wiggins is going to be your man, and you have Jimmy Butler sticking around, you need shooting.
Yeah.
You do.
So,
but no, I agree with you with Aaron Holiday. I think he can be he's a sleeper pick.
What if he goes to Phoenix?
I mean,
if they get Ayton and then him,
Aiden and then
that'd be
Aaron
solid.
Holiday.
That'd be solid.
I mean, if that's the case, that's actually a good point that Abram brought up.
You're
because
good to go.
If Phoenix drafts Ayton, what do you do with the 16th pick in that situation?
If Aaron Holiday's available, I'm snagging him.
That's crazy. I mean, this is going to be such a good draft. I mean, we have less than a month to go, right?
Yeah, I think this is going to be better than last year's.
This definitely should be one of the best drafts, and we've had a couple good ones in the past 5 or 6 years.
Really, honestly.
So
it's
definitely going to be interesting. But hey,
we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
A lot of fun stuff coming up.
Absolutely, and that's going to wrap it up for us here at GRCV Hoops. We really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to check us out on iTunes and the Google Play Store, and follow us on our social media. And leave us a review. Tell us what you guys think. Leave us your thoughts, what we should do differently, what you liked, what you didn't like. We like it all, so we appreciate you.
We really do. Thanks, Abram, for hopping on. It was fun, and then just check us out.
See you.